What is up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Pam, and today I have a really fun repot for you. So I've decided, while I consolidate my little collection of succulents into a small window box planter, that I would tell you guys a little ghost story. So at some point, I don't remember when I told some of you that I spent the night at the Lizzie Borden house in Fall River, Massachusetts. But as soon as I put that out there, a lot of people were like, we need a story time. You need to tell us about that. What was it like? So I thought it would be really fun to tell you guys about that today and, repot some plants, hang out, catch up, talk about murder. So I've got a bowl full of soil here. I'm no longer able to get the soil I've been using for a long time, which really sucks. But this is, I feel like Dr. Nature or something. I don't even know. I got it at Ace Hardware because I was so desperate for soil. There's like a bit of a soil shortage going on in this area right now. Like people are having trouble with deliveries. There's something about a big fire. It's a whole to-do, but it's making it difficult for me to get dirt, which is, a first world problem right now, but a problem nonetheless. So I have a bunch of little miscellaneous succulents that I have accumulated. I don't have a lot, I'm not a big succulent person, but I do like them. So I thought that maybe I would consolidate them into this little window terracotta planta. I'm sorry, my mouth just reminded me where I'm from. This is a terracotta planter, and we shall be filling this with some soil. But first, I'm going to add a little bit of sand to the soil. I do have some black gold cactus soil, but might as well just throw a fungus gnat party and invite everyone, because that stuff sucks, and I'm just gonna say it. I'm actually going to put some gloves on. I don't usually wear gloves when I repot plants or anything, but I will be filming a lot of things today that need my hands, so I'm trying to keep my nails clean for a little bit. Don't come for me, I don't want to hear it. You'd be amazed how many people get upset when they see people wearing gloves. So, if you don't know who Lizzie Borden is, I can give you a little bit of a background. On August 4th, 1892, two well-respected, well-liked citizens of Fall River, Massachusetts turned up dead, very clearly murdered in their home. Abby, the wife, was found face down in her bedroom, bludgeoned to death, and her husband was found in the same state with a crushed skull strewn across the family sofa downstairs. So, needless to say, the city of Fall River was shook. They were shooketh. They were freaking the fuck out. So the couple's youngest daughter, Lizzie, or Lizbeth, she became the primary suspect in the murder. She was home during the murders, and she was the one to discover the bodies. Lizzie was said to have financial and emotional motives for the murder. And despite the fact that her story changed multiple times during the very publicized trial, she was acquitted of the charge of murder. I'll try to leave some links below about the whole story if you want to get more into it. It is a really fascinating story, especially if you're into true crime and stuff like that. But basically, after the trial, Lizzie moved out of the house, and it was changed hands a few times. It's just a normal house. But now it is owned and operated as a bed and breakfast, so you can actually spend the night there, and of course it is said to be haunted. So the current owner of that original Borden's house name is Leanne, and she bought it in 2004. She had stayed there a night with her partner and immediately was like, we need to buy this house. So they now operate it as a bed and breakfast, and if you're curious, it's around $300 a night to stay there. You could, at least in the before times, rent the entire house out if you wanted to as well. The website says you and 19 of your closest friends can stay there. So the house, it does have some items that originally belonged to the families, and a lot of it is set up in the manner that it looked at the time. A lot of the furniture is replicated, including the couch downstairs, which, I definitely took pictures on. So when you go through the tour, the tour guide will even encourage people, if they want, to like lay down where the people died, which as I think of it now, all these years later, is pretty disrespectful and horrible. But of course I did it. So probably I ended up on some spiritual shit list that night, and that is why I had the evening that I had, perhaps. This planter here like didn't come with a bottom, so what I did was I basically just bought 2 smaller little trays for pots, and I'm just putting those where the holes are, and it makes a nice little drainage setup for this thing. Go ahead and start filling that. So anyway, here's how I ended up at the Lizzie Borden Museum. If you didn't know, I used to be married to my son's father, and on our first anniversary, this is probably the only time anybody's ever pulled off a surprise for me. I'm like one of those annoying people that figures everything out. And usually I'll just pretend that I didn't because I don't want to ruin it for the person who planned it, you know, but like usually I figure everything out. And this time he definitely got me. So we ended up, he made me blindfold my eyes, and then we drove to the Lizzie Borden house. So when we got there, I found out that we were staying the night, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, awesome. So we get shown upstairs to our room, which is the Bridget Sullivan room. This is actually where the maid of the house, who was also home during the murders, that's where she stayed. And she went by Maggie, by the family. And so we stayed in her room, which is actually less expensive. And the owner kind of confessed to us later that night while we were watching a really cheesy Lizzie Borden movie together, that was the room that all the ghost hunters feel is the most active room. So little tip, if you stay there, it's cheaper and more exciting. So we get shown up to our room, and I remember poking around and looking in the drawers. The bedside drawer had those, do you remember the Yellow Jackets? They were like little caffeine pills, you know, like the things that Jesse overdosed on in Saved by the Bell. They had those and like a flashlight in the bedside table, I guess, if you wanted to stay up all night and ghost hunt. I don't know if somebody left those there the night before. That's kind of what it looked like to me. If you remember, these are the succulents that I repotted in my Tiny Hands repot video, which I still think is a very fun video. If you've never seen it, I will link it for you down below or something, so you can check it out. But, you know, needless to say, I didn't do a very good job. So I remember that we sat down on the bed and we took a picture, you know, like for our anniversary or whatever. And that's kind of the last thing we remember until somebody was banging on our door at like 6:05 or something, asking if we still wanted to go on the tour because we hadn't turned up downstairs. So neither of us really remember like laying down to go to sleep. So we were kind of like, oh, like, okay, that was weird. So we kind of, you know, rush downstairs, and we're all late and feel silly, and we start going on the tour, and it's very cool. Like there's a lot of different rooms that they take you through, and they dress all like in period clothing and everything. It's a good time. So they're taking us through all of these rooms and giving us a tour, and we're going up all of these like very narrow staircases. And I just remember going up the staircase and looking up like at a bunch of older people's bums. I guess it's very steep. And then I just kind of went out, and I passed out on the stairs, and it was really strange because I'm not one to pass out normally, so I thought that was kind of weird. But you know, I had just woken up, and I don't know, I just felt a little weird, so I didn't think too much of it. And they were like, are you okay? Do you want to stop? You can go back to your room. And I was like, no, like, I'm good. I feel fine. Because I felt fine. As soon as I got up, fortunately, I fell into other people, and they kept me from hurting myself. But, yeah, I just wanted to keep going. I was kind of embarrassed, so we just kept on going. So we actually got through the whole entire tour and stuff, and later on that night, we were actually the last people to stay up. Everybody kind of went to bed early. They had been there, almost everybody had been there longer than we had too, so they had already poked around. So we ended up staying up with Leanne, with the woman who owns the place, and we watched it's called The Legend of Lizzie Borden. It was pretty funny, and she was like pointing out all of the inaccuracies and like and stuff like that. It was really fun and very interesting to just sit with her and pick her brain like that. So eventually she ended up going to bed, and she stayed up in the other room in the attic where we were, kind of working on an arrangement here. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, but I'll try to keep you guys posted. Oh, I just remembered. My ex-husband, I asked him what he remembered about this trip before I made the video, because just in case I have dog shit for memory, so. And he reminded me that we actually all heard footsteps on the stairs while we were watching the movie, and we all looked up because we thought another one of the guests was like coming down the stairs. I mean, it sounded like someone was on the stairs. It wasn't like a subtle house settling creak. It was the sound of a foot on the stairs coming down the stairs, because they're old stairs. I mean, they're very loud when you come down the stairs. So we all like looked at the same time, and then there was nobody there, and then like we all had a laugh because like, haha, haunted house, So anyway, later we go to bed at the end of the movie, and I don't remember staying up for very long. I remember that we felt tired. And this was kind of before like cell phones and stuff, so we weren't like laying around looking at a cell phone or anything. I think we both had brought books, and I fall asleep very quickly with books. So the next thing I remember was just a very long and strange night. It was very sleepless and very strange night. It wasn't hot because it was March, but I remember being very hot all night long and just being very sweaty, and it felt like I wasn't really asleep. It felt like I was caught in that like in-between stage of sleep where you can still kind of hear what's going on around you, almost like that little twilighty zone that you get in when you get like laughing gas, before you go under for a surgery. Like that's what it felt like. I was incapacitated but somewhat conscious, and it felt like somebody was changing a TV rapidly over and over, just all night long. It was like dream to dream to dream to dream, but I couldn't make anything out or like make any sense of it. It was just all I knew was I was exhausted when I woke up. They had to wake us up again to come down for breakfast, and I was really excited about the breakfast because they talk it up a lot during the tour and everything. So I was like, woke up, and I just, my entire shirt, both of our shirts were completely soaked in sweat, and it wasn't hot in there because it's very cold here in March, so it was really weird. Immediately upon waking up, we're like, did you hear that bang last night? Because at some point during my weird night of restless sleep, I heard a bang from either the hallway or just like outside of our room. Now again, that's where Leanne was sleeping. So I didn't think a lot of it. And I was sort of like in that weird half asleep zone. So I couldn't do a whole lot about it either. So I just kind of laid there in abject terror, but also not. I could say one thing, that the entire time, even though I felt very affected, I wasn't afraid. It was weird. So I remember just laying there and waiting for the sun to come up at a certain point because I couldn't even get my weird sleep anymore. So anyway, we have to be woken up again, and we go downstairs, and we had already changed out of our sweaty shirts when we fell asleep the night before when we took our nap, so we had to like go downstairs in our still sweaty shirts. And we looked terrible because neither one of us slept. We both felt the same like restless, weird sleep. And we both heard a bang in the middle of the night, and on the way down the stairs, we're all like, ugh. We go into the bathroom to brush our teeth, and the light cover from the bathroom light had popped off and fallen on the floor at some point during the night. So we were just like, okay, Lizzie Borden's house, like, Jesus. We go downstairs to this entire table of well-rested people, and they're just like, how did you... And they all like looked at us, so we're just sweaty and gaunt and like, ugh. By the way, here's where we're at. So we sit down at the dinner table and we start kind of trying to tell them what happened, and we really didn't even have a chance to talk to each other about how weird the night was because we were like rushing downstairs, because breakfast, that's important. But I just remember that everybody was like so jealous because they had all come wanting this scary experience, and like I didn't even know I was coming. And apparently I had all the action that night because everybody else slept like babies. I'm gonna have to break this succulent clump apart. But I'll tell you that I came to that house completely unafraid to stay there because I did not in any way, shape, or form believe in ghosts. I cannot any longer say that with the same confidence that I could before. I definitely, from the minute I walked into that house, felt off. And it was, like I said, never really scary, but just strange. So when they serve the breakfast, they actually try to like do sort of the same breakfast that the family had the day of the murders, or the last time that they ate together at least. So they tell you that they'll spare you the several day old mutton broth that the Bordens enjoyed the morning of the murders. So you get Johnny cakes, which are pancakes made out of cornmeal, some scrambled eggs, and these little cookies that are shaped like cheeky little axes. At this point, I'm just kind of shoving these in here because I feel like they're all getting so dirty as I do this, and I don't want to move them around a whole bunch. I also have to treat this entire arrangement with some alcohol and water because I found some mealybug eggs this morning on a string of bananas, which is just such a good time. Ooh, I am sweating because I can't have the fan on when I am recording, so I'm sorry that I look like this right now. So we had a very delightful breakfast and then left. It was definitely an experience. If you're ever in or around southern Massachusetts and you have some money and you want to be on a little bit of a waiting list, I don't know how they're handling things now in the after times of coronavirus, but it is definitely worth the stay. It's fun. With all the action in the maid's bedroom, it makes me wonder if maybe she saw something. And I don't know, when your mistress murders her own parents with an axe, like maybe you're not going to be so willing to testify against her, you know what I mean? So I'm just pulling out this pretty much dead string of bananas. I have a much healthier piece of that plant. Even though it has some mealybugs, I would rather spend time dealing with that. And I'm actually just going to cut off this top here and this kind of etoliated succulent because it's got all those roots right there. It should root right into this pot here, and then you know, that'll save a little bit of room. Gonna tip you guys down a little bit so you can see where we're at here. I'm basically doing this because I just really want to save some space on my shelves. They're just getting unmanageable and I feel like they just look messy and I don't love that. And we're gonna treat them for mealybugs. Good times. I actually have my feet on 2 ice packs right now, which is a little tip I picked up from Jane Perrone on how to keep from being super sweaty on your Zoom calls, because the people in the UK do not really use air conditioning, as I've recently learned. Okay, so I got some little, put my sweaty hair back and got a little bit of tools to clean up this dirty mess now. So I'm going to use the water dropper to strategically water. I don't want to like overflow things and mess up what I just did. So yeah, it was very strange going to that house with like basically no real belief in ghosts or anything, and then distinctly leaving feeling like I was picked out of the crowd. You know, my ex-husband did have, you know, a lot of creepy feelings and kind of a rougher night's sleep, but not on the level that I did, and it was definitely an experience, and I definitely left feeling a little more conflicted on what I thought was the case. So it was just it was a very cool experience, so I definitely recommend it if you are into that sort of thing. So if you're watching this and you've ever stayed at the Lizzie Borden Museum or bed and breakfast, whatever it is they call it these days, let me know down below. What was your experience like? And if you just have random cool ghost stories, you can totally share them below. I would love to hear all about it. I don't know that I would stay there again, but I am glad that I went. It was pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure that I didn't leave cursed. So I think I'm going to perhaps cover the top of this with a little bit of sand. and giggles. I'll zoom you guys in and we'll speed this up. Okay, I am pretty excited that I have all of these guys in the same pot, and now I've got plenty of room to drop any little fallen leaves or baby succulents in here that I have laying around the house, so I can just consolidate a little bit. I'm on a mission. Alright guys, that is going to do it for my succulent planter and my little ghost story, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you did down below, and if you didn't, I don't know, maybe keep that information to yourself, okay? Be sure to share your fun ghost stories down below, and until next time, I will see you later.
Waking up dizzy in the morning, we fight a lot. Don't even know about what. I just want you to leave, darling. It's my only hope. Can't you see our time is up? I don't want to start over. Finally some peace and quiet since you left, so don't bother.